This page is the front cover of 64 magazine, screaming, Nintendo 100% action. Bang in the middle is Mario from Super Mario 64, wings and all, looking like he's about to fly right off the page. Headline game is Super Mario 64, calling it his greatest adventure to date. Wave Race 64 gets a shout out too. Surfs up, they say, plugging Nintendo's jet ski racer. There's a mention of Turok, dinosaur hunter, with the tagline, the reason dinosaurs became extinct, and a little screenshot showing Turok battling a raptor. Down at the bottom it's all about Shadows of the Empire. The force is strong with this one, and a stormtrooper looking menacing. They're promising a huge 12-page review of it, calling it the greatest Star Wars game ever, and a competition to win 5 N64 consoles. Bottom line, it's all about getting you hyped for the N64 and its big hitters. This page is an advert for the Nintendo 64 itself. It's pushing the console as the fastest trip you will ever have, promising to suck you into games like never before. They reckon it's the only machine capable of making you fall back in love with video games, and are teasing a full rundown of hardware, software and peripherals in the next issue. Right at the bottom it's asking you to register your interest so you can get your hands on one when full stock lands in April, because it's available now in March but sounds like it might be a bit limited. The first volume of 64 magazine features a comprehensive look at the Nintendo 64's launch. The contents include a 16-page guide for Super Mario 64, anticipated as a potential all-time great, and a preview of Pilotwings 64. How it all began delves into the console's history. Previews showcase upcoming titles like Turok and GoldenEye 007. Reviews cover launch games, with notable mentions for Shadows of the Empire's Star Wars focus, and praise for Wave Race 64 and Mario Kart 64. The magazine includes an award system for top-rated games, and a rating breakdown for graphics, sound, gameplay, and challenge. A competition offers a chance to win Nintendo 64 consoles, alongside a section explaining controller packs and cartridge saving. Lastly, the magazine ponders the true 64-bit capabilities of the N64. This page kicks off the history of the Nintendo 64 feature, welcoming readers to the N64 era. It positions the N64 as Nintendo's most significant launch since the NES, highlighting the competition from the Sony PlayStation and Sega Mega Drive. It talks about Nintendo's history of technical superiority but marketing battles. The magazine itself is presented as a celebration of the N64 and a guide for gamers navigating this new console, promising trustworthy reviews and previews for the UK launch. The article touches on the console's origins, mentioning the Project Reality codename and its advanced 64-bit graphics, initially developed for expensive workstations. It notes the announcement date of August 23, 1993, and sets the stage for the N64 story to unfold, leading into a section titled The Wilderness Years, which seems to be about the challenges Nintendo faced in the lead-up to the N64's release. There are also images showing the SGI Octane workstation, which was powerful hardware essential for software development on the N64. The Nintendo 64's development was shrouded in secrecy, beginning with the Ultra 64 name and impressive but misleading demos at SLES's. Rare's use of advanced computer modeling was highlighted. Dev kits were delayed, with initial versions being massive Onyx workstations. Technical specifications, like the 2 MB RAM, were slowly revealed. The launch was plagued by delays. Originally slated for April 1996, the release was pushed back to September in America, and later for Europe. Few games were ready, with Super Mario 64 being a central focus. Nintendo chairman, Hiroshi Yamauchi, used Super Mario 64 to criticize the competition. Sony and Sega's early moves at E3, especially Sega's Saturn launch, caught Nintendo off guard as the N64 remained under wraps, showcasing only its stylish casing and controller design. This article showcases the Nintendo 64's technical capabilities, branding it a state-of-the-art games machine. The specifications include a custom 64-bit RISC CPU, coprocessor, 4 MB of RAM, and a resolution up to 640 by 480, with a launch price of £250. The N64's custom features are detailed, including Z buffering, advanced texture mapping, and anti-aliasing, which contribute to its superior 3D graphics compared to competitors. Advanced texture mapping, including MIP mapping, is presented as a strength, allowing for realistic textures. The article highlights the console's stereo sound capabilities, while acknowledging the cartridge-based system limited music quality. Pilotwings 64 is given as an example of visual fidelity. Overall, the piece argues that the N64's unique hardware and techniques set it apart in the 3D gaming landscape. This page delves into the technical aspects of the Nintendo 64, focusing on its features and capabilities. The 64DD disk drive add-on is highlighted, offering 64 MB rewritable disks. The controller, with its innovative analog stick, D-pad, buttons, and controller pack slot, is detailed, emphasizing precise control. The console's back panel reveals its ports, cartridge slot, power, reset, expansion for the 64DD, 4 controller ports, A/V output, and power input. The page also compares the N64's graphical prowess with the PlayStation, showcasing the N64's superior ability to handle 4-player split-screen in Mario Kart 64 and realistic water effects in Wave Race 64. The page's primary focus is to showcase the N64's and the 64DD's technical advantages. This page is all about winning a Nintendo 64 console in a reader's survey. It's a competition to give away 5 consoles, which is quite generous. You've got a picture of the N64 and controller front and center, with Mario and his mates like Bowser and Luigi getting in on the act. They're even hinting at Mario Kart 64 with the Canopio Highway sign. To enter, you need to answer a simple question. Which of the following consoles is not a Nintendo machine? Is it the Super NES, Lynx or Game Boy? Of course the answer is the Lynx, that handheld Atari effort. Then it's just a standard reader survey. Questions about what other consoles and magazines you read, lifestyle stuff, age, income and all that jazz. Deadline's the 19th of April if you wanted to send your details in. Back in the day. 64 Magazine Award Super Mario 64 a gold medal, hailing it as a revolutionary 3D platformer that surpasses 32-bit competitors. Developed and published by Nintendo, the game boasts a 12 MB cartridge and is slated for release with a yet-to-be-announced price. The review praises the advanced 3D engine, visuals, and diverse worlds, emphasizing the instant access afforded by the cartridge. It highlights Mario's transition to 3D, noting Miyamoto's realized ambition to create vast, imaginative worlds. The game features 4 save slots and controller pack compatibility. The innovative camera system, controlled by Lakitu, initially seems overwhelming but becomes intuitive. Starting instantly with Mario's iconic greeting, the game impresses visually, with Guro-shaded graphics and clear sound, creating an immersive atmosphere. The review mentions, the game world includes Peach's Castle, also found in Mario Kart 64. The review also includes a brief history of Miyamoto, from his artistic aspirations to his role at Nintendo, and the genesis of Donkey Kong. The next page features a full review of Super Mario 64, following on from the previous page's award. There are plenty of screenshots showcasing various aspects of the gameplay, from encounters with bow-bombs to penguin interactions. The review details Mario's core moves crawling, punching, leaping and diving. They even mention the camera system controlled by Lakitu. The game world gets described, highlighting the castle moat, underwater areas, and the hazy maze caves level. The objective of collecting 120 stars is pointed out, and classic boss fights like Chain Chomp and King Bow-Bomb are touched upon. The review emphasizes the advancement from the 2D Mario games, noting the more sophisticated controls, the immersive game world, and the sheer scale of it all squeezed onto a 12 MB cartridge. They even go as far as to call it the best video game ever, which is quite a statement. To round it off, they briefly discuss the Super Nintendo launch and games like Super Mario World to give context to Nintendo's progression. This page is a player's guide for Super Mario 64, diving into Course 1, Bow-Bomb Battlefield. It kicks off with Big Bow-Bomb on the summit, Star 1, detailing how to reach the top of the mountain, navigate the wooden bridges and stone steps, and of course how to defeat Big Bow-Bomb himself, grabbing him from behind and chucking him 3 times to win. Next up is Foot Race with Koopa the Quick, Star 2, guiding you to the race against Koopa the Quick, emphasizing using the main path rather than Koopa's shortcut. Shoot to the island in the sky, Star 3, tells you to activate the cannons, aiming carefully to reach the island in the sky and grab the star from the yellow exclamation box. Finally it covers, Find the 8 red coins, Star 4, listing the locations of all 8 red coins scattered around the level, from the checkerboard platforms to near the Chain Chomp and the island in the sky. It mentions collecting all 8 gets you a star, and highlights that if you die you lose collected coins, and must grab them again. There are screenshots accompanying each section to help you along. It wraps up by saying once you've got a star from the first course, Hoomp's Fortress and Princess's Room become available. This guide excerpt for Super Mario 64 covers several areas beyond Bob OMB Battlefield. It details how to get 5 special coins in Mario Wings to the Sky, Course 1, Star 5, recommending the wing cap, collect 100 coins, Course 1, Star 7, explains coin types and the score breakdown. The Tower of Wing Cap section explains how to unlock the wing cap area after obtaining 10 stars. It guides players to the red switch to get the cap and how the wing cap works. Other sections cover extra lives, with tips on finding coins. Warps describes how to use warp points. Behind Chain Chomp's Gate explains how to free Chain Chomp. Finally, Secrets reveals tips about obtaining a blue coin from Small Koopa and how to get 5 coins by running around a wooden post. This page from 64 Magazine reviews the Bowser confrontations in Super Mario 64, focusing on the first encounter in Bowser in the Dark World. It describes the course as a lengthy and elaborate challenge with moving platforms and traps. The aim is to defeat Bowser to get the big basement key, and to grab a star by collecting all the red coins. The guide takes you through the level, mentioning navigating flame jets, moving blue platforms, and seesaw platforms before reaching a purple switch and the green pipe. It also touches on the Vanish Cap, and its ability to let Mario walk through wire mesh, and become invisible to enemies. The page details the first Bowser battle, explaining his damage and attack patterns, including his fire breath and jumps. To defeat him, you need to grab his tail, spin him, and throw him into one of the spiked bombs surrounding the arena, rewarding you with the big basement key. This page reviews several courses from Super Mario 64, starting with Hoomps Fortress, a beginner-level fortress. Jolly Roger Bay features a sunken ship and a moray eel. Cool Mountain offers a snowy mountain experience, with penguins and ice slides. Big Boo's Haunt is a haunted house. Hazy Maze Cave is a sprawling maze, with poison gas, and a monster in an underground lake. Lethal Lava Land is a lava-filled course with rotating paths and volcanoes. Shifting Sandland presents a desert environment with quicksand and a pyramid. Dire Docks is an aquatic world with Bowser's submarine. Snowman's World is a snowy world, with a snow wave machine. Wet Dry World has changing water levels. Tall Mountain offers a giant mountain experience, and Tiny Huge Island is a whimsical world where things shrink and enlarge. This page reviews more courses from Super Mario 64, kicking off with Tick-Tock Clock, a proper test of timing inside a giant grandfather clock. Then it's on to Rainbow Ride, set high in the clouds with magic carpets and a Viking ship. Quite the sight. Bowser World 3 gets a mention too, described as a fiendish death trap naturally. There's a bit about the metal cap power-up which lets Mario become invincible and walk underwater. Handy for those river sections. They've also laid out the N64 controller keys. Straightforward stuff, and a list of combos, all sorts of jumps, kicks and throws you can pull off. The game's getting top marks across the board, with ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay and lasting challenge, racking up a massive 95% overall. They reckon it's the world's best video game, no less. Doreen to Nord. Finally, there's a competition to win an N64 and Super Mario 64. You've got to answer 3 questions. Which isn't a Nintendo character out of Bowser, Crash Bandicoot, and Luigi? Is the N64 a 16, 32, or 64-bit machine? And what format are N64 games stored on? CD-ROM, cartridge, or DAT? Get those right, ring the number, and you could be in for a chance to win. Closing dates April 14, 1997, so get your skates on if you're entering. The next page features a review of Pilotwings 64, calling it Flights of Fancy. It's praised as being magnificent with flying machines. They reckon it's a proper showcase for the N64's graphical power, especially the color depth and realistic motion. A real step up from 32-bit systems. Apparently, on levels where you can fly close to stone bridges or castles, the detail is impressive. The review highlights its pick-up-and-play appeal, saying it's easy to jump into for a quick go. The challenges are set across 4 islands, and involve flying gyrocopters, hang gliders and rocket belts, with tasks like flying through rings and taking photos. They mention the gyrocopter has an altitude ceiling of about 505 meters. The hang glider relies on airflows to stay up, while the rocket belt is for blasting around. They talk about bonus games like Birdman, where you find a hidden star and can fly around freely, and Cannonball Run, where you fire a pilot out of a cannon to hit targets. The controls are innovative, thanks to the N64 analog stick. The reviewer also touches upon memory options, noting it has 2 save game slots, and supports the controller pack for extra saves. Overall, it sounds like a cracking game, very visually impressive and easy to get into. Pilot Wing 64's review details the playable characters and gameplay mechanics. Characters differ in control sensitivity based on size. Lark and Kiwi are nimble, Goose and Ibis are balanced, and Hawk and Robin are heavier, influencing their suitability for specific missions. The playing guide covers the gyrocopter, rocket belt, and hang glider. Gyrocopters begin timers upon movement, with acceleration via the stick and rudder inactive until airborne. Rocket belts use A for lift, Z/R for aiming and shooting, with an inside view for precision. External views are recommended for landing. Hang gliding emphasizes perfect landings for high scores. The guide advises practicing approaches, aligning horizontally, facing forward, and using it to deploy wheels. It cautions against losing altitude too rapidly and highlights picture composition scoring. Hang gliding is presented as the most challenging. Pilot Wing 64 receives a glowing review in 64 magazine, earning an 89% score. The review praises its gameplay, highlighting the control stick for nuanced maneuvers, especially with the rocket belt. Mastering the rocket belt involves switching power types and using the Z button for braking. The Mecha Hawk section emphasizes low-altitude takeoffs and quick shots at the enemy. Birdman of Alcatraz is lauded for its open-world flight and exploration. The review concludes that Pilot Wing 64 offers fantastic gameplay and is destined to be a classic, giving top marks for graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge, with the controller layout and absence of combos also noted. J-League Perfect Striker, a soccer sim for the N64 developed and published by Konami, was an import game priced at £100. The review praises its stunning graphics, motion-captured players, and 3D views, exceeding expectations for the console. It highlights realistic player animations, including detailed gestures and celebrations. The game offers tactical depth with customizable formations, strategies, and player positioning, saved to the controller pack. Up to 4 players can compete, and team strategies are assignable to buttons. Over 15 goal celebrations are featured. Saving options include league, tournament, and custom data via the controller pack. The review finds the game supremely playable and brilliant fun, despite minor slowdown in the penalty area. J-League Perfect Striker offers in-depth team management features. Players can customize formations, strategies, and player roles, including substitutions for fatigue and injuries. The game presents 16 formations and allows for zone and individual player adjustments. Up to 8 tactical presets can be assigned. Gameplay focuses on realistic soccer, emphasizing skill moves and intelligent AI. Techniques include the effective quick 1-2, through balls, and a variety of moves like chip shots, headers, and shuffles. The game also includes slide tackles and automatic shooting. The review praises the game's varied gameplay and skillful moves, concluding it sets a high standard for the genre. The next page reviews J-League Perfect Striker and it scores a whopping 91% overall, calling it the most playable football game around and well worth the money. The review highlights in-game celebrations after goals where players go bananas, but thankfully, the ref doesn't book them for over-celebrating. It mentions in-game tactics like through balls being a useful feature and gives tips on how to execute them effectively. The control layout is detailed, explaining button functions and combo moves like push. The game gets top marks in graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge, all rated with full N64 logos. There are a few adverts on the page as well. Entertain and Visions are advertising new and used games and consoles at discount prices for both Nintendo 64 and PlayStation. Console King is advertising Game Doctor 64 and services for playing import games on both N64 and PlayStation. Wild Imports is advertising US and Jap N64 consoles and games, mentioning titles like Mario Kart 64 and Shadows of the Empire, as well as Universal PlayStation packs, and they claim to beat any advertised price for PlayStation conversion. Finally, Skill Academy is advertising US Nintendo 64 systems at £229, mentioning they are the best mail-order establishment in the UK today, and mentioning import Nintendo and PlayStation games. This page is a review of Wave Race 64, calling it simply impossible on 32-bit, unbelievably awesome on Nintendo 64. The review emphasizes the impressive graphics, highlighting the realistic water effects and reflections, noting its groundbreaking for the N64 and superior architecture. They mention the game's fluid realism of the ocean and the undulating cascade of transparency. The gameplay is described as fiendishly addictive, with the variability of the sea and buoy system requiring attention and tactics, rewarding correct buoy passes with speed-ups, and penalizing wrong ones with power downs. The review also mentions the stormy weather aspect, where wave conditions significantly impact the racing, adding to the challenge. Controls are described as simple, with A for power, and the analog stick for steering, with a downright diagonal for crouching. They touch upon memory options, and the controller pack for saving custom jet ski settings and unifying controller setups. The Simply Champion section notes the choice of 4 riders, Ayumi Stewart and Dave Mariner, being mentioned by name. There are 29 track permutations in championship mode, and a stunt mode is mentioned, which they say is a game in its own right. Finally, the review concludes with a 3 out of 3 score, calling Wave Race 64 a dark horse of grand national winning quality, praising its stunning graphics, immaculate playability, and unique handling, claiming it justifies the cost of the N64, comparing it favorably to Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64. Wave Race 64 features a championship mode, where players unlock tracks, starting with 6 and earning points for finishing positions. The courses include Dolphin Park, Tutorial, Sunny Beach, Beginner, Sunset Bay, Weather Effects, Drake Lake, Slalom Focus, and Marine Fortress, Stormy with shortcuts. The review also covers Stunt Mode, a separate game where players navigate rings and perform stunts like handstands and barrel rolls. Points are awarded for both, with combo bonuses and time penalties possible. Successful underwater dives are essential for some tracks. Stunt Mode is challenging and enhances the game's replay value, offering a way to humiliate your friends in versus mode. This page is a review of Wave Race 64, focusing on its 2-player mode, which they reckon is fantastic for competitive play and has bags of replayability with all the track options. They run through a few of the courses, starting with Port Blue, which has a detailed city and a helicopter flying about, Twilight City with its moody neon lighting and tricky minefields, Glacier Coast with its icy hazards, and Southern Island, which sounds like a proper challenge with ship jumps. The review highlights the graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting appeal, giving top marks across the board and a stonking 94% overall. They reckon it's a real step up, leaving those old 32-bit games in the dust. There's also a nod to the combo stunts, and the control layout for good measure. This page is a right laugh. It's a comic strip advert for Computer Exchange, or SEX as we call it now, and it features these 2 lads, Toby and his mate, getting wound up playing Mario 64. It kicks off with Toby glued to the screen raving about how amazing Mario 64 is on his new N64 from Computer Exchange. His mate's nagging him for a go, but Toby's having none of it. They get into a bit of a spat, and then Toby gets properly stuck in the game, yelling about turtles and falling off edges. Classic Mario 64 frustration. The advert itself is pushing the idea that SEX is the place to go for the latest games, saying they've got brand new releases and imports, plus loads of secondhand stuff, and even classics. They're banging on about the cheapest prices and the biggest stock in the country, and they're keen for you to part exchange your old gear. They've even got a list of games there, things like Racing Lagoon, Raystorm, and stuff like Blast Corps and Mario Kart for the N64. Looks like they're selling PlayStation, Saturn, and even some of the older consoles too. Right at the bottom they've got their address in Rathbone Place, Harrow and Tottenham Court Road, with phone numbers, and even an email address if you want to get in touch or mail order. Proper old school advert this. The next page is a review of Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire on the N64, and it's a rave review at that. Right off the bat, they're calling the opening Hoth battle breathtaking and visually revelatory, saying it's designed to wow with its visuals. LucasArts and Nintendo are credited as developer and publisher. It's a 3D platformer on a 12 MB cartridge, and it's out now, costing £59.99. The review talks about the cutting-edge graphics, and reckons no other console delivers the Star Wars experience like this, calling it the greatest Star Wars video game ever. They mention John Knowles at LucasArts, who worked on the game, and highlight the fast rendering and detail in the environments, from snowspeeders to Ziz's Palace. Locations like Mos Eisley and Beggar's Canyon are brought up to emphasize the authentic Star Wars feel. They think it's the closest you'll get to living a Star Wars adventure, and call it the truest killer app for the N64, praising its ambition. Characters like Dash Rendar and IG-88 are mentioned as well. Shadows of the Empire receives high praise, hailed as a flawed masterpiece, with an 88% rating. The review highlights cutting-edge graphics, especially the visually stunning Hoth level, declaring it the ultimate Star Wars experience on the N64. LucasArts' impressive graphics engine delivers detailed environments and massive vehicle models. Gameplay offers variety, including Hoth battles, Doom-style sections, and asteroid sequences. The Boba Fett encounter is a highlight, and diverse weapons are available. Top marks are awarded for graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge. Though the American release had mixed reviews, this review is overwhelmingly positive, calling it ambitious and a showcase for the N64. The review concludes that the game is a must for Star Wars fans. This page delves further into the Shadows of the Empire review, focusing on two key sections, the iconic Battle of Hoth and the escape from Echo Base. For the Battle of Hoth, the review highlights the exhilarating snowspeeder combat, emphasizing the need to take out Probot and Atonist walkers before tackling the ATATs. It mentions the strategic element of harpooning the ATATs and circling them for the takedown, a proper test of skill. Awarding 3 challenge points for mastering this section. The authentic Star Wars soundtrack and sound effects are praised for enhancing the experience, drawing you right into the action. Moving on to the escape from Echo Base, worth a hefty 10 challenge points, the gameplay shifts to on-foot exploration as Dash Rendar navigates the labyrinthine corridors. The review points out the abundance of snowtroopers and gun placements, making targeted blaster fire essential. The over-the-shoulder camera view is praised as the best choice for accuracy, crucial for platforming and combat. The hangar section is mentioned as featuring power-ups and even an invincibility cloak, with blaster sections and puzzle elements adding variety. The review suggests practicing strafing with the ZIS trigger to prepare for later levels, indicating a good learning curve. Overall, the page continues to paint a very positive picture of Shadows of the Empire, showcasing the varied gameplay and immersive Star Wars atmosphere that the N64 delivers. This 64 magazine review of Shadows of the Empire details 3 levels. Asteroid Chase, a straightforward, visually impressive blasting level in the Outrider, tasks the player with escaping Imperial forces. Ordmantle Junkyard shifts the gameplay to a train track, involving intense action and a boss fight against IG-88 in an Taoist. Gaul Spaceport, set in a desert environment, features canyon navigation, encounters with various enemies, including sandwumpers and stormtroopers, and the introduction of the jetpack. The player must find Boba Fett and escape, culminating in an Imperial base, with close-quarters combat, and the heavily guarded Imperial shuttle. The next page of this magazine delves into the remaining levels of Shadows of the Empire. Part 3, titled Hunting the Assassins, takes place in Mos Eisley and Beggars Canyon, offering 12 challenge points. This section puts you on a swoop bike in a high-speed chase through city streets and canyons, tackling swoop mercenaries. It mentions the first-person view, being particularly effective for navigating the airfoils. Then there's Imperial Freighter Suprosa, worth 10 challenge points, where you battle stormtroopers inside a ship to download data and escape on the Outrider. Apparently there's a sliding block puzzle element, and a loader droid boss encounter. Ingo. Finally, Part 4, Lair of the Dark Prince, set in the sewers of Imperial City, offers 9 challenge points. Here, Princess Leia has been kidnapped, and you're navigating murky sewers filled with Coruscant guards and IG drones. The review highlights underwater exploration and Dianoga enemies, those multi-tentacled swamp monsters, adding a tense atmosphere due to limited oxygen. You'll need to find Ziz's palace beyond this sewer labyrinth. This section of Shadows of the Empire covers 2 levels, Ziz's Palace and Skyhook Battle. In Ziz's Palace, a 10-point challenge, Luke, Lando and Chewbacca are rescuing Leia, while the player, as Rendell, uses thermal detonators to aid their escape. The level features moody lighting, intense combat against Coruscant guards, and a respawning gladiator droid. Players must navigate bridges, activate switches, and utilize a jetpack and various weapons, including pulse blasts and guided missiles. Clever weapon choices are crucial. The Skyhook Battle, a 0-point challenge, involves destroying the space station after the rescue. Players control the Outrider in a massive space battle with Star Destroyers, supported by the Falcon and X-Wings. The level tasks players with taking out defense towers and the reactor, promising a fast-paced, pyrotechnic experience. The Outrider handles responsively, similar to a snowspeeder, with high-quality texture detail. The player will face waves of enemies before attempting to destroy the station. Mario Kart 64 receives a 64% score, celebrated as a 64 Sizzler. The game, developed and published by Nintendo, was released in June 1997. Players could save best times and lap records using a controller pack. The review details various modes: Grand Prix, 1 or 2 players, versus up to 4 players, Battle, Balloon Popping, and time trials. Character classes include light, fast acceleration, heavy, slow but tough, and middle, all-rounders. Development involved Kono's adherence to the 16-bit concept and Miyamoto's input, with the game showcasing 3D tracks. The review ultimately praises Mario Kart 64 as an excellent multiplayer experience and one of the best on the N64. This review summarizes the tracks and power-ups of Mario Kart 64. The Mushroom Cup features Luigi Circuit, simple and banked, Moo Moo Farm, bumpy, Koopa Troopa Beach, beaches and shortcuts, and Calamari Desert, figure 8 with a train. The Flower Cup includes Kinopio Highway, busy highway race, Choco Mountain, bumpy with rock slides, Mario Circuit, short and fast, and Bowser Castle, challenging in mirror mode. Power-ups include green shells, single and triple, red shells, single and triple, bananas, single and string, fake item boxes, the ghost, lightning bolt, star, mushrooms, single, triple and golden. The review notes, these power-ups are not available in battle mode. Durin. The next page in the magazine delves further into Mario Kart 64, focusing on the Star Cup and Special Cup tracks, as well as mirror mode. For the Star Cup, we have Wario Stadium, a massive mud track arena with a thrilling leap, Sherbet Land, a fast ice track with penguins and ice caves, and Peach Circuit, deceptively tricky with hairpin bends and a watery section. Moving on to the Special Cup, Donkey Jungle Park is described as wild and riotous, featuring river jumps, caves and lots of rocks to spice things up. Eudoro House, or Spooky House as some might call it, is a flat wooden track over icy water, with tight corners and a bat-infested ghost house. Rainbow Road, the track you either love or hate, is long and fiendishly twisty with no barriers. All skill, no luck needed here. Finally, Bowser Castle is proof of the N64's capabilities, packed with huge thwomps, lava, narrow bridges, and a fire-breathing Bowser statue, making it a proper challenge. The page also touches upon mirror mode, unlocked by getting gold in all cups in both 100cc and 150cc modes. It doesn't add speed, but flips all 16 tracks, reversing the turns while keeping the race direction the same, offering a fresh challenge for seasoned players. Mario Kart 64's battle arenas offer varied experiences. Arena 1 is basic, while Arena 2 is complex and tactical. Arena 3 is a maze, and Arena 4 is a perilous skyscraper battleground. The review praises the game's sharp graphics and ambitious level design, especially Arena 2. 150cc is recommended for optimal gameplay. The 4-player mode is the game's highlight, despite the slower frame rate. Distractions are more apparent in single or 2-player modes, and some arenas feel spacious without 4 players. The review details controller layouts and a spinning cart trick. Graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge all receive perfect scores, leading to an overall 94% and recognition as a landmark title, improving upon its predecessor. This page is a review of Doom 64, giving it a solid 70% and 71%. It kicks off describing Doom as a 10-foot furious-looking red chap throwing green fireballs, emphasizing the visceral, over-the-top nature of the game. The review highlights that Doom 64 features completely new levels impossible on other machines, and makes full use of the N64's perspective correction, anti-aliasing and Z-buffering to iron out past graphical issues. It points out the enhanced graphics compared to PC and PlayStation versions, noting deeper textures and better enemy sprites with 4 different views. The color palette is described as having dangerous bloody reds, treacherous bright greens, and deep ponderous blues. Lighting effects are also mentioned as being subtle and impactful, capable of instantly changing the atmosphere of corridors. The review mentions the chain gun as still being the best weapon, and that the pistol has been changed to look more like a Colt standard army issue but is rather useless. It talks about the enemies being larger and more detailed. The reviewer questions why Nintendo is bringing such a violent game to their platform, and how it compares to other versions, suggesting it's a good start for monsters on the N64. The overall tone is positive, appreciating the advancements in Doom 64 while acknowledging its familiar roots and asking if it is anything new. It ends with a shout-out for Quake and Duke Nukem. This page features the conclusion of the Doom 64 review, awarding it a fantastic 81%. It's singing praises for the game, stating it's a must-have. The review dives into the 3D aspect, noting how the level design cleverly uses platforms and balconies, creating proper depth compared to older, flatter games. It mentions the new laser-action machine gun, a welcome addition to the arsenal alongside the classic BFG 9000, rocket launcher and plasma gun. Graphically, it reiterates the impressive use of perspective correction, anti-aliasing and texture variety, making the game a visual treat on the N64. It even points out the analog control for strafing as a key improvement. The review boxes at the bottom highlight the control layout, mentions no combos, and awards top marks across the board for graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge, all getting a full 5 N64 logo rating. The bottom line summary nails it, saying it's as old as dirt, but the classic gameplay design coupled with technical improvements make it a must. They even give a shout out to the Lost Souls enemies, those flaming flying skulls, quoting the original Doom manual. Looks like Doom 64 is a definite winner on the N64. This page is a review of Cruisin' USA on the N64, scoring a respectable 74%. It's positioned as the N64's first crack at a real-life racing game, straight from the arcades. They reckon it's like Supermarket Sweep with cars instead of trolleys, which is a colourful way to put it. The review mentions it's set across the entire United States, in stages from west to east, and is a conversion of an older arcade game. They do point out that while the N64 version has some enhancements, the graphics are still a bit tacky. There's a question posed about whether it's better than a 32-bit racing game, and that it might become an embarrassment for N64 owners, eventually. They note the crashes are visually dramatic in screenshots but jerky in the actual game, and the cars themselves lack detail despite looking alright from a distance. Driving is described as pretty basic, and the computer-controlled opponents aren't up to much. Despite these criticisms, they do concede there's some fun to be had, particularly with the car suspension and cornering. Interestingly, if you win the game, you get a little ceremony on a pig farm with cows covering the roof of the White House. They conclude that Cruisin' USA is painfully short of real features, but still manages a decent score. The next page continues the review of Cruisin' USA, and it's taken a turn for the worse, I must say. They've given it a shocking overall score of just 31%. They're calling it depressingly poor and rubbish, stating it's not worth even a $5. Apparently, the only redeeming feature is the bouncy young lady who presents your trophy. But even that isn't enough to justify the price. They're really laying into it, saying it's upsetting to see such a low-quality game so early in the N64's life, especially with the official Nintendo seal of quality on it. There's a carnal knowledge section showing off the cars though. Looks like they've got 7 cars listed with their top speeds, skid pad ratings, aero coefficients, 060 times and power. There's the Italia P69, Devastator V, La Bomba, 63 muscle car, school bus bonus car, police car bonus car and all-terrain vehicle bonus car. The school bus and police car are bonus vehicles, and the all-terrain vehicle is another bonus car. Their listing stats, like top speed, skid pad, aero coefficient, 060 times, and power for each. Right at the bottom, the reviewers summing up, calling it tacky and infuriatingly incompetent, and advising readers, don't buy it. Pretty damning, really. This page is a review of Killer Instinct Gold. They've given it a respectable 75% overall. It's dubbed as 64 Magazine Review, with a 64 logo. The information box states the publisher and developer are Nintendo and Rare. It's a beat 'em up. Cart size is 8 MB. A release date and price are TBA. There are screenshots with captions. One shows Orchid fighting Maya, saying Orchid is unhampered by her 6-inch stilettos. Another shows Spinal and Fulgore, mentioning flame effects. And another with Combo and Jago showing fireball attacks and 3D backgrounds. There's also Tusk and Spinal with sword clash sound effects highlighted, and Orchid striking a pose. The review talks about opulent options, like a training mode and team mode. It mentions literally millions of combos. The ratings are all high, with graphics, audio, gameplay and lasting challenge, all getting 4.5 out of 5 stars visually represented. The bottom line box highlights it's not a killer game despite being good, showing the N64 controller layout. A $64,000 question section asks if it taxes the N64 hardware, concluding it could be on a 32-bit system. The summing up says, great conversion, okay gameplay. The next page is a preview of Turok Dinosaur Hunter, with Acclaim looking like they've got a winner on their hands. The information box tells us Acclaim and Iguana are the publisher and developer. It's a shoot 'em up, cart size is 8 megabytes, and it's due out in May '97 for £59.99. They reckon Iguana has lavished attention on the title, praising the anti-aliasing, shading, and mip mapping for visually stunning environments. It's hailed as the best-looking first-person shooter on the N64, with unprecedented weapon options, boasting 14 pieces of hardware including the nuke launcher, particle cannon, and eraser gun. There's even Lara Croft-style jumping and swimming. The story follows an American Indian battling dinosaurs and their guardians. Apparently, enemies range from skeletons to strong dinosaurs, and there's a real sense of surprise and fear when playing. The review mentions gorgeous death scenes and plenty of enemies on screen. They also highlight the claustrophobic action and strategy involved, plus some truly brilliant devices. There are said to be 8 levels in Turok, set in jungles and corridors, with a map superimposed on the action. The prospects section boldly claims, "This game makes Doom look like a school day out," indicating it's going to be a big hitter. Screenshots show varied environments, weapon action, and jungle settings. Captions mention weapon selection, claustrophobic action, and impressive jungle levels. They say it's Jurassic Park-tastic. This article previews 4 upcoming Nintendo 64 games. GoldenEye 007, a first-person shooter based on the James Bond film, boasts impressive graphics and realistic enemy reactions, with potential for vehicle sections. Wayne Gretzky NHL Hockey aims to be the first sports title on the console, featuring multiplayer for up to 6 players. Rev Limit, a racing game, offers realistic driving mechanics, arcade-style gameplay with endurance races, and car damage. Finally, Robotech. Crystal Dreams, a space shooter based on the anime series, features a unique cockpit view reflecting stress, and promises extensive replayability with 64-player capabilities. This preview highlights 2 highly anticipated N64 games. Top Gear Rally, developed by Boss Game Studios, is touted as a mature racer, akin to Sega Rally, with diverse tracks, realistic physics, car damage, and 9 cars, including a Porsche and Toyota. Set for a late 1997 release, the game promises a strong visual experience, with varied camera angles. The second game, Zelda 64, later Ocarina of Time, is presented as a graphical adventure exceeding Mario 64. It features an older Link and 3D battles comparable to Tekken 2. The dynamic camera offers a new perspective, immersing players in a rich world. Slated for a late 1997 release, Zelda 64 is predicted to be a groundbreaking title, promising an immersive experience. This page is an advertisement for strategy guides, focusing on Super Mario 64 and a general Nintendo 64 secrets guide. They're pushing these as the only guides you'll ever need, boasting about detailed walkthroughs, secret locations, boss creature tactics, and tons of screenshots. You can order them by post using the coupon or via a 24-hour hotline. The Super Mario 64 guide is cheaper than the general Nintendo 64 tips book. They are really shouting about them being unauthorized, unrivaled, unbelievable. Bit much in it? This page previews 2 upcoming Nintendo 64 games. Wild Choppers, a helicopter shooter from Seta, offers detailed graphics and a military theme, drawing comparisons to Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. Players will engage in various missions like destroying bases and rescuing hostages. Freak Boy, an arcade adventure from Virgin Interactive, features a bizarre premise where players control a mutant who mutates further by inserting power-ups. The game promises a psychedelic visual style. An advertisement promotes advertising in UK console magazines, mentioning PlayStation Power Station. Finally, a piece on Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, an acclaimed game, discusses the game's depiction of dinosaurs and suggests a Save the Dinosaur angle for the game's release in March 1997. This page is a subscription advert for 64 magazine, pushing a very decent 35% saving on the cover price if you sign up. They are really selling the idea of subscribing here with perks like guaranteed delivery, a special discount on the newsstand price, a price freeze, and even a special letter just for subscribers. Judging by the magazine cover art, this issue is packed with info on Super Mario 64, Wave Race 64, Turok, and even Shadows of the Empire, which was a big deal back then. Looks like they're also covering Cruising USA, versus Mario Kart, and versus Top Gear Rally inside the mag. Blast Corps, a Nintendo 64 game developed by Rare, is previewed as a potential hit. The game, a shoot-'em-up scheduled for spring '97, puts players in control of various heavy-duty vehicles, tasked with clearing a path for a runaway missile carrier. The game features around 12 vehicles, including dump trucks, jetpacks, and even a walking vehicle named J-Bomb. Players will navigate 50 levels, rescuing scientists along the way. The visuals are praised for their reflective textures, explosion effects, and detailed levels. Overall, the preview calls the game astounding fun, highlighting Rare's talent and the N64's graphical capabilities. This page previews two upcoming N64 titles. Dark Rift, a 3D beat-em-up from Kronos and Vic Tokai, promises Guro-shaded, motion-captured fighters, intuitive 3D controls, and graphics comparable to Killer Instinct Gold for a summer '97 release. It features 8 playable fighters and 2 bosses. Dart Hexen, a Doom-style shooter developed by Software Creations and GT, is also planned for a summer release. It offers 4-player split-screen action with RPG elements in a medieval setting, featuring 3 character classes, 31 levels, and 2D sprite enemies. The article suggests potential for multiplayer success, but also acknowledges competition from Duke Nukem and Quake. An adjacent advertisement promotes a PlayStation strategy guide, boasting over 100 featured games, 500 cheats, and 1,000 screenshots for £8.95. The next page gives us a look at Star Fox 64, or Starwing as we knew it back in the day. It's being touted as a big deal, and rightly so, given the success of the original on the Super NES. This preview highlights how visually impressive it is, calling it jaw-dropping, and mentioning the smooth frame rate and texture mapping. They're keen on the transparency effects for fog and lighting effects too, especially the laser bolts and engine flares. The article talks about the game sticking to the same format as the original, with fixed corridor levels and big end-of-level bosses. It mentions that the N64 version gives a proper intro sequence. Unlike the SNES game which just threw you straight in, they've shown screenshots with varied locations, like water levels and city bombing stages. Bosses are a focus, described as huge textured beasts, with one looking like a mechanical dinosaur and another a space starfish. Your wingmen are back, giving advice and asking for help, and they've even managed to cram in a 4-player mode, which sounds like a right laugh. Release is slated for summer '97, and it's on an 8 meg cart, with the price still to be announced. They reckon it's going to be a killer app for the N64. This page previews upcoming N64 games and accessories. A long list of games expected in 1997-98 are featured, including popular titles like GoldenEye 007, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, alongside many others, showcasing the 64-bit generation. Accompanying the games are accessories designed to enhance the gaming experience. Blaze is advertising a 1MB memory card, 4x the capacity of standard cards, a universal game adapter to play Japanese and PAL/UK games, and a Pro Series RGB SCART cable promising enhanced picture quality. These accessories are available at various retailers: Carnegie Thorkus, Warrington Norsa Hasmelds,